Climate conversations on the agenda.
With Dubai Holding, together for the good of tomorrow.
Back to your climate conversations episode on the agenda. It is our chance to basically put the spotlight on sustainability stories. That's what we like to do here on the agenda. We look at the news headlines and we bring the most interesting ones to you. So this climate conversation just means we'd put a sort of eco-friendly lens on everything. And we have been so far this morning discussing how events can become more eco-friendly. We're going to turn now our attention, it's sort of linked, because we're turning our attention to a site which of course is playing host to a massive event later this year. Of course, COP28 is going to be hosted at Expo City, Dubai. Now, what is now a neighbourhood, obviously it hosted Expo 2020, but is now, a sort of residential neighbourhood. And they've just unveiled a decarbonisation roadmap. I need to find out what it is, first of all. We want to know whether, it really is going to be an eco-friendly community. And I'm pleased to say that one sort of nod in the right direction is that they have a chief of sustainability. I don't know how many other neighbourhoods have one of those, who joins me now in the studio. Welcome, Matt Brown. How are you? Thank you for coming in. Thanks,
Georgia. Nice of you to have me.
Well, it's very good to have you here. And you have just released this decarbonisation roadmap. First of all, what is it? I don't really know what it is. I mean, I imagine the clue's in the name.
Yeah, that's right. It's a long title, isn't it, for some of your listeners? But to try and break that down, under the UAE Net Zero 2050, we're looking to try and raise the bar at Expo City Dubai on a blueprint for sustainable living. So what is that? For us, it was about trying to paint a roadmap, a plan, a strategy to look at the next 27 years, to break it down into a set of long-term bold targets, to really push the envelope on what we can try and do within sustainability, to set meaningful and scientifically targeted medium-term goals, and then to prove some points in the short term, to get us onto that curve, to really build on the platform that we had as sustainability as a sub-theme to Expo 2020, and to now look at the future and turn it into real meaningful action.
It's really interesting how things are changing here, as far as the way in which the sort of construction industry is looking at things, the way in which neighbourhoods are looking at things. But I think it is still pretty unusual for any sort of neighbourhood to have a decarbonisation roadmap. How much of that decision was influenced by the fact that you're going to be the host venue for COP28 in the coming months?
Yeah, so we felt it was important to be transparent, first of all, to come out, to be one of the first, as you put it, neighbourhoods for us, city, community, that went out publicly to really show what we want to achieve in the long term. So it wasn't necessarily something that we came out with because we were the hosts of COP28. For us, the starting place for COP28 as an event was the legacy piece in its truest sort of definition of sustainability. We were looking to the long term, and that's why this roadmap really looks to the next few decades. Now, clearly, the opportunity of hosting COP28 presents us with a raft of opportunities that we can actually achieve some real short-term gains. And for us, it's then not about taking any backward step, but actually using it as a springboard as to how we move on beyond the event into 2024.
There's a lot of building going on the site. Obviously, a lot of the pavilions had to be demolished or taken down, and sometimes they're rebuilt in their home countries, aren't they? And several have been demolished, although less than at a normal expo, which is worth mentioning. And you've got your 3 legacy pavilions that were always going to be there: the opportunity, sustainability, and mobility. But there is a lot of movement of buildings going down and then buildings going up again. How are you, construction traditionally not the most sort of eco-friendly of industries, how are you keeping that sort of within your decarbonisation programme? How can you align those two things where you're having to build but you're trying to stay green?
Yeah, I think, it's a really good question. It presents a challenge. It's not easy, but I think that we've put a number of things in place. I think to your question there about change, we've held over 80% of the infrastructure that was put in place for Expo 2020. And that, certainly going back to the COP28 question, was made, as we believe, an ideal host venue in using some of the sustainable items that are there in place already as part of the infrastructure. I think that in terms of the construction part, clearly, yes, we are still building Expo Valley, Mangrove residences in terms of a residential offering and our commercial tenants to come. But we feel the key word in that is being responsible about that build. Now, whether that's the likes of the LEED certifications with some of our energy management, we've managed to reduce energy by 33% for the majority of our buildings. We've got the likes of our Terra Sustainability Pavilion, obviously pushing the boundaries as a flagship sustainability venue. And I think for the new construction projects to come, we've looked at another raft of measures in addition. We're the first well community to be signed up. We've actually got 23 of our buildings about to qualify as well health and safety certified. And the likes of the kind of eco reserve that we're going to put in as part of Expo Valley are just a number of things where we're trying to look at ultimately a challenge of constructing new buildings, but trying to do that with a reduction of carbon. We're trying to reduce our carbon footprint in the build of what we call the embodied carbon by 40% by 2030, which is above and beyond most projects.
Do you think that what you're doing could be replicated in other neighbourhoods, or is the reality that this is a government project and being sustainable is quite expensive?
Look, I think a similar question to Danny previously.
Yeah.
We don't like to think of it as kind of expensive or not expensive. Sustainability is about environmental, social and economic pillars. And people sometimes forget that economic pillar. I think to be truly sustainable, we can't just exist in the loss column of a profit and loss column for that. We're trying to look at ways with that economic value to really invest into the future so that any cost is coming with a long-term payback. Otherwise, we're not going to be truly sustainable. People naturally jump to the environmental aspects, but I think that for us it was important to build something that was lasting. Under the 2040 Dubai Urban Master Plan, for us it was about developing these buildings, developing these new projects, but keeping to some pretty strong true values. And to your question around other projects, we hope to lead the way. We hope to really set some new benchmarks, just like we did when we hosted Expo 2020.
Really interesting stuff. Matt Brown, Chief of Sustainability for Expo City Dubai. A pleasure to have you join us in the studio. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.